Hey, everybody, welcome back to The Blueprint. This is Brandon Adams here, excited to talk about the two guys that I have here today. First time I've ever done two guests before, so stick with me on that. Travis McCann, artist that I've known for quite some time, and Kyle Sauter, entrepreneur. Super excited to hear their story, and they have something that they're going to break out to us and tell us what they have new on their horizon. So stick with us. Travis, Kyle.
Hello.
What's up, guys?
How we doing?
Good. I really appreciate you guys getting here today and talking with me for a little bit. You guys have a little different approach than what I'm used to doing. Super excited about that.
Yeah.
So, where are you guys from originally?
Of course. Me personally, I was born in Northern California, then moved to North Texas when I was 5. So grew up Colleyville, Grapevine area, Grapevine High School, and then went to school down at Texas State in San Marcos, which is where I met this fella when I was 18 years old, my freshman year. So grew up here, North Texas. And,
Okay.
Still here.
Very cool. I mean, once you get here, you got to stay.
That's not a bad spot to be.
You know.
Yeah.
So he was one of those Californians that came like a little early before we caught the
The
trend.
wave.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But same thing. I'm from North Texas. Grew up in the Plano, Carrollton area. I
Okay.
went to Hebron High School. If you're
Okay.
familiar with the high schools,
Mm-hmm.
got a son.
I'm 5 generations from here, so yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Me
Yeah.
too. We can't track them all down. We just know that that's the
number.
story. Yeah, exactly. We don't know anyone from anywhere else, I guess. Met him my sophomore year, his freshman year in college. Just blind roommate or suite mate with a good friend of mine.
Mhm.
In Small World, he was a student of my aunt, and he said that was his favorite teacher growing up. And it's just Small World.
That was
and,
pretty cool.
yeah.
Yeah.
And we have a very blessed friend group that's
Mhm.
kind of stuck together after college. And here we are 20 years later, which kind of dates us. You
Isn't
start
that crazy?
thinking about when did we meet? And you're like, oh, shit, it's 20 years ago.
Yeah.
So what year did you guys graduate high school?
I graduated 06.
And I'm
06.
05.
05. So you guys are 10 or 11 years younger than me. So
There you go.
Right there.
yeah, there it is.
But to everybody else, we're in the same box. You know,
Yeah.
almost 40, so might as
Yeah.
well be 40.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel that. And I tell you what, I mean, the older we get, I still feel like I'm 22, 23 years old.
Sure.
Like I honestly, it has not changed mentally for me whatsoever. I apologize, babe. It's just who I am. But at the
It's
end of the
true.
day, like it's really cool because, people always think, oh, you get better and you mature and you do whatever. It's like, no, man, I'm still the same 12-year-old I was back then, making jokes and cutting up with my boys and things like that. But you guys talk about that friend group and how that really starts to melt together. And the guys that bond, you find that one group. That's really cool, man, if you guys have something like that. Because I've got a couple of those guys.
Definitely is.
And people talk about the college experience, right? And they talk about what you have to take out, whether you take loans or whatever, is it worth it or not?
Mm.
In our circumstance, it would be worth it regardless of what our degree was because it's put us in the rooms and allowed us to cultivate the relationships that we
Right.
have. And it's so extensive and expansive now. It's pretty cool to kind of look back and look at what everybody's doing and kind of how can we work with this person? What do they have going on that kind of complements what we have going on?
Mm-hmm.
And for Travis, luckily, a lot of our friends decided to open bars and clubs. And so they need creative work, and he's pretty much the first call, and we're thankful for that. So
Definitely.
I always tell people, like, if you can go to college and maximize the full experience, and not just be a bookworm.
Mm-hmm.
Now, not to say if you're going to be a specific thing, like a doctor or oral surgeon, whatever.
Right.
There's a guideline that you have to follow
Mhm.
and do that and make it your passion.
Mhm.
But you say you feel young, and I think we're the same way. It's because you do things that you enjoy doing. You
Right.
wake up with a zest for life, and you're not beaten down by the 9 to 5, or you've kind of taken control of how you enjoy and what work is to you.
Yeah, 100%.
Like we're sitting up hanging out, having a podcast on a Friday. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, that's pretty dope. So what did you graduate with?
Business major with a minor in communications.
Okay.
So I do use them,
Yeah.
but it's not the traditional route that I thought.
Mhm.
Right.
What were you thinking when you came out?
The traditional sales, and then getting the $100,000 job right out of college, like
Mhm.
everybody is, right?
Yeah.
Which wasn't existent. We graduated 09 right after the housing market, and it was a big okay, this is going to be a grind.
Yeah.
And for me, I took a non-traditional route. I had the job, and then I went into a patent holding company, and that accelerated me on a lot of levels, professionally, personally. I was doing things, I was in rooms that probably I was not ready to be in, but I was there, so I had to learn. And that's put me in a place to kind of handle the endeavor that we've taken on now, and put me in a position to work with Travis directly with his art career. And I'm blessed in that regard. But people ask me, how did you get into art? I went to business school. Right? Simply put.
That's awesome. And so what did you graduate with, Travis?
Business management.
Really?
Yeah. So went to school, business management, had planned, same thing, getting that $100,000 job right out of college. Yeah. Ended up working Liberty Mutual, selling insurance.
Wow, okay.
Did that, then got a job for staffing doctors and physicians and doing that. And then there was some miscommunication on the, I guess, time that you were supposed to be there at the job for about a year. And then after that, got into real estate because of this network of people that I knew and friend wanted to work with friends. But then that was at the very beginning, kind of where all the realtors were really starting to walk through the house on Instagram and like put together all these videos. And I'm like, I don't want to do this. Like, I don't care. I don't want to go out when I'm out at a bar, talk to people about a house. Or like, oh, it's not very exciting. And then kind of just went to this guy's house. He was a big art collector, had Banksy, Dali, just all this very nice art everywhere, Jeff Koons. And I was like, I want to collect. And he had a great after party and went back and tried to collect. I'm like, God, this is expensive.
Yeah.
I cannot collect at all. And, but still wanted to support something by like a couple little paintings or whatever. And then, had started doing photography back in like 6th grade. So I had cameras, had all these old pictures and just wanted art all over my house and like really for myself. And so I just printed out these old photographs and then wanted to mess them up more and started kind of sprinkling a little painting on them. And that kind of just turned into full on painting. But it all goes back to kind of where that initial network and friends group and even friends from high school, and that real big support system too. And that allowed me to kind of start off painting and really allowed me to focus on it and create something bigger than I ever would have imagined.
Yeah, that's crazy. You know, it's funny because like I've only known you through art, you know, as well being an artist myself. Like I've only known you through that. Like I did not know you went to business school, right? Yeah. I went to art school as well, but was kind of thinking you were kind of doing the same thing. And so you don't really even know what people have talent wrapped up in their back pocket, you know, at any given turn. You know, it's like you sit there and you look at somebody and the things that they're doing all the time, and it's like, dude, you got this superpower and that superpower and that superpower. Like, man, that's pretty cool. You know, that you get the ability to do many things.
And from our perspective, I think it's interesting to tell this angle because this is in his head. He knows, and to elaborate on the late part. So he was supposed to be there at 8 and he was coming at 8:30 thinking he was on time. Yeah. His baseline on time.
8:15.
8:15, 8:30, you know.
When the meeting starts in the morning, every morning.
Right. So
I'm there.
For a year, right? So we're building out his website right now, actually. And there's a couple little placements for some branding quotes. And we Caroline and I decided that we were going to put, couldn't be on time for work, so I became an artist. Right? So for us,
it's like dirty dog. I mean, it's kind of true.
It tells a story, but back to what I was saying. So he lived in a stacked loft with 2 other friends from college, and one weekend we went over there because we were thick as thieves, as they say. We'd go. Yeah. We couldn't miss a Friday or Saturday, right?
At all.
You're still post college. You're in that window, and we went into his room, and there was a ladder, plastic everywhere, and scene out of Dexter, right? Like paint everywhere. Like, and we're like, what is going on with Travis? You know, what's he going through? And it wasn't a phase. You know, and he is extremely talented, and it's crazy how it manifested because it just started with him painting over other things like photography that he took, and then he'd throw some paint on it. But now it's, far from that. And it's like,
it's an experience.
And he's not professionally trained in a sense. He's got a lot of self-taught and a lot of learning from other people firsthand. And that's commendable in my opinion.
So let's talk about school for a minute. You guys went to college. How did you meet there?
I did rushed up returning my first semester there, then did like potluck. Roommate wanted to change my living situation. So that second semester of my freshman year, I was paired with another gentleman that I know and then had kind of known at the time, but then was one of his best friends, this guy, Josh Moss. And it was me, Josh, and then two other guys. He lived with the other guy in one room. I was with this other dude, and then we had a common area. And then Kyle and Josh would just come over. Well, Kyle would come over and
Live down
just
the hall.
like there was the guy that I lived with had a guy that was always on the couch sleeping, and it was kind of just a mess. And then Kyle would come over with this damn airsoft gun and either try to get that guy out, or it would just turn up to just terror of like just pointing the gun at me, not getting shot, like him shooting me with the airsoft gun and shit. And still don't know why, but
it's funny how people remember things.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was a
Trauma. You guys came together through trauma.
through trauma, right? And I'm a
guns.
terrorist. So 4 people in a common area, but each one brought another additional person.
Yeah.
except for me.
Except for him. And then we were down the hall, Rodney and I, which is a friend of our in our friend group. So we were always down there. So there's at any time 10 people in a space, common area like this, and then maybe 2 extension rooms off of that. And I don't know who, it wasn't my airsoft gun. I think it was someone's in the apartment, but who doesn't, if it was an airsoft gun, you got to shoot it, you know? It's not paint, so it's clean.
And you were thinking Travis.
The reason I'm thinking Travis is kind of, I think you deserved it. You know, I don't think I ever dished out any kind of punishment that was undeserved. Like the person you're mentioning, Lane, right? It started there because he was sleeping
deserved.
in the common area and we needed him to get up and he was a hard wake up. So boom, pop, shoot you in the foot and now you're awake. So I guess that's how we met, but
Little hand in a glass of water.
yeah, exactly. But mutual friends, you know, always hanging out every weekend. I don't think we missed a weekend in college. I think that's kind of lifestyle. And in class, we had classes passing. So 4 years of kind of just being stacked on top of each other. And then we all moved back to Dallas.
At the same time.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
Yeah.
College was over. I'm going back. No relationships holding us back.
No. And there was a townhouse that was 3-story stack, you know, and we had ours over here and then there's another one. So it was like a mutual spot. And there's, I think, 7 kids that we went to college with lived there at one particular time after college. So it was kind of like a graduate program with no classes. Right. Now, instead of going to class, we went to work and we still kind of upheld that lifestyle. Right. But in that, we eventually grew up. Somebody had a kid here. Somebody got married here. And then now 20 years later, we're opening our second business together that we're running and involving friends that we've met along the way or known the whole time. And even further from that, have now brought in investors that have those same longstanding relationships. And when you try to do the things that we're doing, it's like, it's a good place to come from when you know that you have support beyond the idea, you know?
Yeah, 100%.
Because a lot of people fall in love with the idea or the promise to come. How we got together truly is like, I didn't have any aspirations of managing an artist. He was in a place where he needed some organization. He needed some direction, free him up. Right. I read a book. I read a lot. There's a book called The Go-Giver. And in The Go-Giver, there's a term called antim bulo. It's an old term. And what it means is it's from like Greek philosophy times, right? So what they would do is that person would free an artist up so they can create art. They handle all the other things. Right. Because emails are cumbersome. Everything. So it started there. And then it's since merch. We collaborate on the merch. I give creative suggestions because he's the artist. Right. But oftentimes we'll work with brands and, it's an open slate and he's working on 4 other projects. So, but we have a time restraint. So then I can kind of tap into my previous life where we're applying applications to patents and things like that. And it's like conceptual. Don't ask me to paint. Don't even ask me to tape. But we can. He doesn't. Right. And so it's like I do the things that I do well, and it complements what he does, and it helps accelerate and allow him to kind of be more of an artist and make his job more fun. Right?
What was the conversation? Because I love that idea. That sounds amazing. Because like as we're producing, when you got to wear this hat and then that hat and then that hat all the way through,
and now film it. And edit it.
And put it on social and tell the story.
Can you imagine Michelangelo had to film himself?
Dude, man. shaking hands and kissing babies and going through and selling your stuff and telling people about stuff. You know, it's funny in gallery shows and stuff that I've personally had, like walking up and sitting there. Some people really know you. Some people don't. Some people know your story, but don't know you physically sitting next to them. And you listen to their story of what they're saying about your piece of art.
Yeah.
And it's really cool to see if like you're really translating or you're doing what you think you're painting, right? Like, I want to pass this message on to X, right? But you have to sit there and listen and absorb and see if it's received. And then you find out from that other person, it's like, all right, now I have to now go paint again. And now I got to create something, sell something, post something, talk to another gallery.
Right.
You got like
start over.
Where does the time go?
Yeah.
Like, where do you do it? So it's an amazing thing that you're doing.
Yeah.
Yeah. He pretty much recognized just how bogged down I was. And
talented too. That's a key thing. Like, I was coming from a position that I was working with a very, very eccentric, very successful person. Just no other way to cut it. But he had with that comes a lot of lifestyle issues and choices. And, you know, you could be riding waves, right?
Yep.
Highs. I tell this story a lot. I got woke up one morning around the COVID times because he was trying to transition and do some other things at 4:30 in the morning to get on a podcast with the Pope. The Pope, right? And I'm thinking, this guy's lost his mind, but it was real. And then in that moment, it's just like, what are we fucking doing, right? It's like, it didn't make any sense to me. And so I was already at a place where I was looking around, trying to figure out my next thing. And I was in a situation where I'd buried some money, as they say, and I had set myself up for residual income through, you know, licensing of patents and things of that nature. So I was in a situation where I could kind of peel the lens back. We were at a Christmas party at a friend's house, and he is also involved in Gallery DeFi, this friend, Trey Swafford. And, you know, he's my brother, Travis, and we've been through a lot. And, you know, we've experienced life, weddings, kids, like I said, kids having kids, deaths, things like that. So just, he's talented, but I knew that he wasn't fulfilling anywhere close to his potential
maximum.
And, you know, I knew friends that had tried to work with him, and he just, it never materialized because he just had so much on his plate and couldn't get to it.
Yeah.
Right. And it wasn't a matter of like
want to or desire.
But it doesn't matter to the outside world. They just look at it as
complete or not complete.
Right.
100%.
So that's kind of where it started. And, you know, it's grown. And at the same time, he was, you know, he had bad representation and we had to get him out of that. So that was a process. And here we are, full circle. And, you know, we're successful in that side of things. And, you know, he's got his clothing brand and multiple collaborations, working with a lot of brands with repeat business, which I'm sure we'll talk about in a little bit. And then the big elephant right now is the Gallery DeFi thing. And none of that would have came if we didn't come together, for me and for him. Who knows? I might have been a realtor.
Yeah.
Right. You know, at that time. So who knows? So I
want to jump to that in just a second, but I want to get to this first. As you start thinking about Travis, as you start thinking about pairing up with somebody, letting someone take that off your plate, a couple of things come to my mind. 1, trust, right? 2, friendship and money. Those two things, well, friendship, money, I guess is one concept, but trust is the other one, right? Yeah. If this goes sour, you lose a lifelong friend for this purpose,
for sure.
Right?
Yeah.
And they always say don't mix, you know, family and money or business and money and friends. And they say don't mix those things up. How do you guys handle that? How do you walk away from that? Because, you know, that's you're giving it a big gamble here.
What I really saw was kind of like it was a way to like a plan. Like we had a plan. Things were not necessarily laid out at the beginning, but we knew what we wanted to do together. And I knew that he viewed it the same way that I did. He was able to tell me, like, look, I know you don't want to send these emails. I know, like, was able to pinpoint these things that were kind of holding me back. Not that emails hold me back. That's easy. Something to do, but it's distracting and everything. And he kind of came with this big picture thing of how he could help and how it could fit in. And I mean, I've trusted the dude for a long time and still do. And I mean, it was exciting too at the time getting to work, because I was also in a position where I was working with a gallery that things had all gone south. I'd lost all this trust and all the system, and somebody that I thought was behind me, thought was wanting to support me. in everything. And it just wasn't the case. And so being able to work with a familiar face in that, and like that I know, somebody that I know that has my best interests in mind and at the top of their mind as well, was something that I wanted and needed, and something that I'd been longing for even by signing up with that gallery to begin with. And so I saw it as a great, easy, no-brainer pivot to a way that I could easily accelerate my career. And also, it's nice working as a team. Like having that motivation, if it's just you by yourself sitting in the studio, like you do cool things, you do fun, and then they're sent off, you finish the painting, and then 5 minutes later it's gone. And it's like, okay, now the next one.
Recycle.
It's like there's no real, not that there's no goals, but you need to celebrate those milestones, celebrate those things, and they're easier to celebrate, or they're easier to recognize rather, when it is part of a team.
Right.
And you also, when you make something bigger than yourself, there's more motivation behind to work harder, to create things, to just keep doing what you want to do. And very fortunate that the things that, not that he has me doing, but he's reminding me to do, they're all accelerating my career. It's all making my life easier and better and allow me to be more successful. And it was an easy decision to make, and it was it's just great as a team, having this support system. And
so remember, I was the one that was shooting him with airsoft guns.
Right.
Right. That's
The
how
bully.
you got to develop the bully. You got to develop that trust, right? But now he'll utilize those skill sets, right? So I think that's funny. But he's right. I wouldn't have done it either. Trust me, because I'm a kind of person.
It makes no sense.
Well, listen, because it's counterintuitive to kind of how I operate, how artists operate, right? But I look past all that because there's a relationship there first. And I'm sure our friends will tell you stories. Like, I'm very protective of him, like as a friend, regardless of the art stuff. And there's multiple occasions where that's come to fruition.
Right.
So I don't think it was whether a question of trust. And we didn't even talk about money.
Yeah.
Because that's not where I wasn't coming into it to like, oh, let's make money in art, because I don't think that's how you're successful. Because I think if you fall in love with what you're doing and you put yourself out there, money comes. There's plenty of ways to make money.
Yeah. I
could have been an Uber driver and been a man, if that was the issue, right? If it was all about money. Meaning I could have supplemented my time.
Right.
So we never really even had the conversations till it was like, oh shit, there's checks coming all the time. What's the point?
Now I got to pay this guy.
Now I'm on the hook. But with that, it's not like you think we fight. You know what I mean? Like
physically.
No. I don't think we fight.
No. We don't physically fight. No, I
Does it wrestle? You guys wrestle?
No, we don't. There's weight classes for a reason. But no, it's just like, no, when I say fight, it's like I'm going to hold you accountable, and he's allowed to give back. Like, hey, you don't know what I got going on. This is this and that. It's like, well, communication helps, right? So, there's moments where you would think like these guys hate each other. Yeah. But it's not that. It's just like with a coach, right? I'm not his coach, but with a coach, they're going to be on your ass for two reasons. You're talented and there's more to get. Yeah. And then there's a bigger picture. Yeah. So it's kind of that. I come from a sports background, so there's a lot of those correlations and those mindsets. But now he's in a position where he can do this for the rest of his life if he chooses to. And that's the breaking point. A lot of people have to be artists and do something else. Right. To supplement that art until you don't. Yeah. And we're at the till you don't part. And it's like, how do you maximize that? And then how do you give back and create more opportunities for other artists? And like, how do you bring people up? Yeah. Because we work with brands all the time and we might be out of their budget. And it's just, it is what it is. Yeah. So it's like, okay, what is your budget? Let's see if we can find someone else that can do this and that we put our stamp of approval on. Because there's also people that's their budget for a reason, because it comes with all kinds of things that you can't control. Yeah. Timeline, unreliability, flat out don't show up. Yeah. Skill set, all of it. So,
yeah, no, that's a tough part. Like I've done so many projects myself that people will call me outside of something that I normally do. Like I've got a style and people recognize that part of it, but they're like, hey, I've got this thing. You want to do it? And I'm like, not really.
Coloring by number is what he calls it.
Yeah, like not really. I don't want to do that,
Right.
you know? And so
Because I got to attach my name to that.
yes, 100%.
that
And I'm trying to
waters
build a
down-
brand, right?
Branding is everything.
You know? And so, and not that I'm turning my nose up at anything. I mean, I'm super thankful that anyone would think of me at any point in position that relates to anything that they're in love with, that
Right.
they're willing to pay money for something that they really enjoy. Thank you for thinking of me. I
Sure.
love that. But I also have to watch out for me as a brand and make sure that what I'm producing and what I'm putting out there to the world shows that I'm different, right? I don't want to be that guy that you saw something like. I don't want to be that,
Right.
you know. And I've murals. I really love murals. I've gotten into murals. Those are, I say gotten into them. It's 15 years now, but but you know, as we put those up, you know, I've gotten, you know, cities that, hey man, I want you to do like these destinations in our city. And I'm like, man, there's so many people that do those destinations. I don't want that.
Right.
Like what I want to do is I want to do something that says I'm different and people come stand in front of
Brandon Adams was
pictures.
here.
Yes. Right. And that's the thing that we want to make sure that you're really putting out in front of somebody, because those opportunities are so small throughout your life that you want to leave your mark. Right.
Can I speak to your brand for a second though? And I think we told you this. We on our gallery page, I have access to it. We have someone that runs it. We had someone reach out because they saw that you were a part of the gallery and they wanted to know where they're going to be in town for Dallas. And they wanted to know where your murals were located because they wanted to come check your stuff out.
Oh, that's
so
cool.
through our small reach so far, not being open yet, someone identified you and like, oh, I know him. I like him. Where's his stuff out? And I had to reach out to you like, hey, where's this, and this?
Yeah.
And they went on a scavenger hunt and found your mural. So you have established that just from our third party. It's come through us, right? It's the only one to come see you. So I think it's important for artists to stay true to that, because if you start just doing any job and doing any design, then who are you?
Yeah, I think the key word that comes out of all that is authentic, right? Be authentic to who you are. And that's one thing that I love about what you do. It is not like anybody else's, right? It's unique. If I drive down the street and don't see the name, don't see nothing about it, I can get that long to look at it and go, Travis, you know.
Thank you. I appreciate that a lot.
Yeah.
And definitely something as an artist that, I mean, you strive for. You want to have that brand recognition, that art recognition, be able to create something without your name being plastered on it and everything, and having that signature kind of style. I still don't know what that style is. It's just kind of
Organized chaos.
And to me, I think that's what you dream of, having that originality and being recognizable, kind of just without signing. That's one of the things that I love, like going to the clubs or places that I've painted and everything. It's like my name's not everywhere on it. It may just be like in one little 3x5 little spot
corner
of this 200-foot mural or whatever. And nobody going there and nobody knowing that I did it, but being able to watch the people interact and enjoy with it and take pictures in front of it and everything.
He interacts with the clubs a little more than I do.
Yeah.
But when I do go and these things happen, these moments happen, I always, because I know he likes to be back in the, he doesn't like to be in the spotlight. It's just not who he is. He's not put the camera on me guy.
Yeah.
So
There's three of them on you, by the way.
I'll grab somebody and I'll be like, hey, like they'll be interacting or taking a picture in front of the art or whatever, or say something like, oh, he did it. And then I'll walk away.
Yeah.
And then he's stuck there to kind of have that moment with them, which, that's part of it.
Yeah, that sounds probably nice, because I'm sure deep down you want that attention. Of course, you want people to know that you did it, but
it's your heart.
It's different when it's coming from somebody else and not yourself, which is also great.
Yeah. No, I mean, it's cool because it's your heart that you're putting out there in front of people, and you're like saying, really, because I talk to a lot of artists that reach out to me and say, "How did you get your start? How did you start the momentum? How did you get going in this position?" And I said, "You know what I did? I posted it." And they're like, "I don't want to do that. Why would I do that?" And it's like, post it.
Yeah.
And then post the next piece of crap. And then the next piece of crap that's a little better than the last piece of crap.
Yeah.
And just keep going. And guess what? At first, people are going to really encourage you just to keep moving on.
Sure.
They're going to give you something to lift up. "Oh, I didn't know you could do this." And they're just going to pat you on the back. But then all of a sudden, you're going to start growing. And they're going to say, "Oh, you're better." And then you're going to get some people to say, "Oh, you suck." Right? That's a good thing. When you get haters, that's a good thing, man. But making sure that you step out on that limb and tell people about what you're doing or show them what's in your heart, that's a hard thing to do as an artist, to let that go, because you're sitting in front of something, doing it, and you're pouring everything into it. And it's an emotional transition for you to go from here through here to here, right? And so that's what I tell them all the time. It's like, post it, grow, move, start, you know, and don't quit, you know? So
that's the key,
Don't
right?
quit.
Because like 90% of the artists ever never realized their potential. Someone else, their family did.
Yeah, 100%.
Right?
Yep.
They're dead and gone.
Yep.
And that's just, but the beauty of that is like, how many industries do you get to participate in that is going to leave something that's going to outlive you or your family, generations? And there's art that's around that's thousands of years old, right? Yeah. And the person that made it had no intentions of it being there for probably maybe 10 years.
Yeah.
So I think that's where it's like, to be a creative, wherever it is, engineer, architects, they build buildings that outlive generations.
Yeah.
And I think that's really cool. Musicians, music outlives generations and impacts people longer than yourself. People you'll never even know or have the chance to know. And I think that's really powerful. And it's kind of like the world needs it. The world needs that just as much as they need an accountant. And we need better accountants. But
yeah. Well, I mean, even in, taking your stuff and putting it in galleries, right? Like that's a big step for you as an artist coming up. Then you start doing that. Talk about your first experiences doing that.
First experience, I was going across the street to there was a gallery at the Crescent, and I'd live across the street from the Crescent, and then just kind of started going in there and talking with them. Ended up building a relationship, and they're wanting their arts. I'm trying to kind of go back. Where was my first gallery show? Because I think LA was. I think it was probably them. But yeah, you kind of, as an artist, whether you're creating things, people by yourself, people can buy those, there's your personal friends and everything. But then once a gallery you're longing for that kind of stamp of approval. Like you want that like kind of thing, and you get excited about it. And so you want to jump on that opportunity and everything. And so I was partnering the gallery across the street from where I lived. And it was great for a while. So
we started reading the details.
Yeah.
I love how we're dancing around.
Yeah, and you gotta go.
We have to, because it's like you gotta dance around it, because to acknowledge it and to live there, it's in the past for a reason. You grew from it, but you validate it. It's like saying someone's name on a song, right?
Yeah.
It's like I'm giving you validation by even doing this right now.
It's then onto a different experience, like gallery that out in LA, and it's called Ethos Gallery, and they're in Newport Beach. And I mean, it was granted I had to drive all my canvases out there to LA, which wasn't bad. I like long trips, but it was great being able to just pull up with a 26-foot truck filled with art the day of the gallery opening, and all of a sudden people come in, grab your art, go put it on the wall, and then all of a sudden it's like Sunset Boulevard and your art's on the wall, and you're finally able to relax after this 20-something hour drive. And it was a great feeling, like working with a gallery and seeing your work up amongst other artists that are way bigger than yourself as well. And it's just a great experience, I feel. Just to it's not about the money. It's just about seeing your art in another place, exposing it to a whole new group of people and having that opportunity. Still want more of it.
I remember the first time that I started going to galleries myself. I just was like, I'm loading paintings up in my car and I'm driving gallery to gallery. I picked out 8 galleries in Dallas that I thought these kind of fit what I like.
Sure.
Right. And I drove to those 8 and I did it months in a row, just like, hey, I'm back. Check this out or whatever. Right. And I remember this one specific person saying this to me. They were like, the reason people are so nervous about putting a new artist in a gallery is because we're nervous about them being a fly-by-night, right? Because what we're going to do is build into somebody and continue to push, build up the clientele behind them, build you as a name, build you as a brand. And if you're not established, we don't know if you're 1 year or 2 year, or a lot of artists are I'm in this for a while and I'm out of this, right? I can't deal with that lifestyle of how much are you into it. So get some skins in the wall, put some stuff up, build a little bit of a brand, and then we'll start to carry you. And I just thought, man, that hits hard. You know, it doesn't even really matter what I'm creating. Now you're looking at all the ancillary things around that. You know, that was a tough one for me, you know? And then get to that first time where someone was like, yes. And you're like, whew.
But
you know?
in a nutshell, really, though, that's kind of how business is, though, right? Like if you're a new product and you want to go,
you want to see they're all in,
and you want to be in a convenience store. You know, I have experience in this route, and what we were trying to develop was a product that didn't exist, that didn't even have a buyer yet. It was an inhalable energy solution, right?
Right.
We're a little early on the wave because everybody vapes now like crazy, but at that point, it's like they don't give you the time of day unless you've been there before. It's like, well, how do you get here before?
Give you the data.
You know, it's like, oh, you can pay, you know, this much to have, you know, and now they're just trying to, you know, get you in and out for real.
Yep.
And that's what Walmart's actually famous for. I don't know if a lot of people know this, is they're a patent company. So they'll get a company, they'll get brands to come in. Like, oh yeah, we'll give you all this space, and they'll give you an order that you can't even fulfill, knowing that they're not going to sell because you don't have the marketing dollars to put behind it. And now you got to buy back your own products, and now you're bankrupt, and then they'll go buy your IP on pennies on a dollar.
Yep.
Nancy Walton, you're great. Like that's what she does. She's created an empire doing that. Yep. And you know, we've experienced that, but it's the same thing, you know. So unless you have the intestinal fortitude, you know, to keep coming back,
right,
and say, okay, maybe not this one. Let me do something they're gonna like. They're gonna like this next one, and I'm gonna show up. And if they don't, I'm gonna go to next door, and I'm gonna keep showing up.
Yep.
And those are the people that succeed in life. So
yeah, perseverance, 100%. You get perseverance. You get somebody to get in and dig on it, and that's the kind of thing that I really think is cool about you guys, pulling this thing together. Friends from an early age, finding a bond, taking that your own deal, and then kind of coming back together, pushing through this thing the whole way, and creating something that was
creating something completely new.
New.
Yeah.
Well,
we haven't even got into that part yet. So I think, I think it's time. Yeah.
Yeah, let's talk about it.
Yeah.
You know, what are you guys doing?
Creating a playground, like something that, creating a gallery, a ticketed immersive art gallery, giving the opportunity to a lot of artists to create larger than just the canvas, create murals, create an installation, the opportunity to really allow visitors and people to step into like their mind and what they really like. One of the things that I love about murals, and I'm sure you do too, I mean, it's like larger than life. You kind of force somebody to have to observe it in some kind of way. And the kind of more receptive to it, the larger, the more immersed into it that they are. So giving that, creating a space where lots of artists, over 40, can create and have people come see that. So it's a little bit.
So the beauty of it is a lot of galleries aren't led by artists, right? We're coming from a place of working with art galleries, working with exhibits, understanding the things that work, the things that you feel like were overpromised and under-delivered on. And those are the things that you kind of feel taken advantage. And that's in anything, you don't ever want to feel taken advantage of or used, right? So that at the core of what we're doing is where it started. It's redefining gallery DeFi is what it's called. It's a 16,000 square foot building in Trinity Grove's Bishop Arts area. And that area is exciting. We'll get to that in a second, but it's redefining the gallery experience across the board. So from the artist perspective, it's the relationship that you're going to have working with us. From the contracts, it's more favorable to the artist. It's a 60-40 split, and the 10% of the 40 that we get goes to whoever sold it. So if the artist comes and sold it, now it's a 70-30 split, right? And that's true because we want everyone to take ownership of the art, of the artist, of their stories, because that's how you sell art. That's how you build relationships, and that's how you build brands. And for us, that's important. And beyond just allowing the artist to come in and create installations for the public, we're going to create opportunities for these artists to work together, work with each other, work with other brands, work with municipalities, just like you just said. You've worked with cities and they want you to come do this. and that's not your lane. Well, we have 10 artists that this is their first gallery experience.
Mm-hmm.
They're hungry.
Mm-hmm.
They would love that opportunity
Mm-hmm.
to provide that. Or maybe it's a specific demographic, and these type of artists speak to your demographic. This is who we have to offer, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so now we're kind of creating a creative collective.
Mm-hmm.
And then our building is designed in a way that we do have a office that's kind of fantasy factory for art.
Mm-hmm.
And so the local artists can always pull up, use our conference room, hold a meeting, hang out, whatever, because we want to create that environment. But to the masses, for the people that want to experience or collect or view art, we also want to redefine that experience, because there's a stigma around white wall galleries. Not a stigma, but like a stuffiness. People don't know. They're intimidated by it. They feel like they need to know a lot more than they actually need to know. It's art doesn't really have a defined meaning or angle or perspective, but they're intimidated because they don't think they have the right attire, or they don't know how to talk or what to drink. And I don't care what your shoes look like. Just be respectful, enjoy the art, collect the art.
Right.
And so we want to make it more accessible to the masses, and also pulling back the lens on what an artist is.
Mm-hmm.
So if you look into what we're doing, you might see someone that's a fashion designer. That's not an artist. Or Rick Fairless.
Mm-hmm.
Shout out Rick. Strokers Dallas. He's in the Motorcycle Hall of Fame.
Mm-hmm.
But what he does is the bikes that he makes are art, and then he puts art on it. And so he's a creative through and through. And I like to explain what we're doing to show the contrast of a Rick Fairless, Motorcycle Hall of Fame, hanging out with motorcycle gangs. He's revered. And Arbany, who is the former Miss Universe, Miss USA, Miss Texas, right? Got a beauty queen and a motorcycle guy, and they might be right next to each other. We might have an event where they're the two keynote speakers, right? And it's like, and let them have a conversation or tell their story and see, okay, to the eye, there couldn't be any more different. But when you look at what they do and their processes and what makes them tick and their reasons why, it's really kind of the same, right? And so to have this space and to allow artists to kind of be free and do whatever they want. Like we haven't pitched an exhibit to anybody. Yeah. You know, we said, hey, what do you want to do? Right. I told one artist, if you've ever had a gallery, they've been doing it a long time, tell you, no, that's crazy. That I want to hear that idea first. Tell me that one first. And if we can make it happen, because there are restrictions. Yeah. Taylor wants to blow fire and do all that stuff. We can't do that. We have the fire department behind us, but
so maybe we could.
Maybe we can. But just things like that. So it's really just kind of making art more accessible in a cool way, right? Because now more than ever, big brands are tapping into collaborations with artists across the board, like brands that you wouldn't even think would use an artist. And how does that come to fruition? And then how do people get into collecting art? Like Travis said, he wanted to collect art before he was an artist, and that's expensive. Yeah. So we understand that. So we want to offer layers of participation. So this is a good example, right? It's your collectible. It's you can't buy the big piece. Yeah. But I love Brandon Adams' work. How can I collect? How can I take something home? It might be a print. It might be some merch that we do. It might be a collectible like this. And that also offers opportunities for artists. And then I guess a third thing is using the space for different events and initiatives. Like a TED Talk with artists, like I mentioned with Arbany and, Rick. A small group of people filming it, content like this. Poker nights where you're not winning money, you can win art. And now the artist is getting a collector, they're getting paid, and now we're creating a cool event, things like that. A dining experience. When you go on our website, you can buy tickets. It's going to say dinner for 10. That's real. Yeah. So you can have fine dining within the gallery where we make you a part of the exhibit. And it's just kind of redefining, like I said, the gallery experience. And we are open to ideas. There's going to be things that we do that we have no idea today, just because it makes sense.
So guys, when you have all these dreams, all these different arrows and perspectives that you're taking on this new venture, like this is pretty different. Right. Which I think is very cool. Right. I mean, there's a lot of immersive things out there, but they're owned by a big one. Right. Yeah. And so trying not to put names out there.
Sure. But they have a lane. Like they serve a purpose.
100%. And I think they're
awesome.
Really pretty cool.
Yeah,
pretty cool.
The distinction with us is we are selling art. Right. And we're a brand, but we're art. The artists are in front of us opposed to the other way around. Like I would rather someone came because they knew of the artist and they had to come to us just because they came to see the artist.
Yeah.
And back to the sports deal. How many kids get scholarships because they came to recruit somebody else?
Right. 100%. Yeah.
Right. So, and you might find someone might come to see this artist and the pieces that we have weren't quite for them, but they discovered this one.
Right.
Right. And so that's where I think it's compelling for the diversity of artists that we have.
Mm-hmm. And so I think about my mind spinning because my day job is owning this marketing company, right? Smoking Gun.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And I think about, SEO, PPC, LSAs, marketing channels, social media. Like, what are you guys doing to really put yourselves out there? Like, how are you trying to reach the masses right now? What channels are you using?
We've got a great lady.
Yeah. So Caroline Weeks is our social media coordinator.
Yeah.
And we are all in. We wear a lot of hats, like you said, running. So Instagram, TikTok, social media, the traditionals. And we're walking the line of SEOs are real huge, right? But what are our SEOs? You don't want to just put art gallery because you don't want to be defined by that. So it's like, how do you date nights, things like that, that are things to do in Dallas, because we want to be a destination, just not just art. We want all people. You might be a sneakerhead. Well, we got one of the best sneaker designers in the world, literally in our gallery. So it's like, maybe that's the only reason you came. That's cool with us. But you're gonna have to walk through all these other exhibits and take all this other stuff in. And we know that you're gonna appreciate something, someone in there. And UGC is going to be huge for us. So UGC, user-generated content.
Yeah.
And that's where the murals, the large-scale activations make a lot of sense. Doing collaborations with influencers, other brands, hosting networking events, allowing these pictures to get out there and flood, the guerrilla marketing. And then just the traditional ad spends, things like that. But a lot of just curated events are going to just carry us, right?
So you guys want guerrilla marketing?
100%.
Okay.
100%. Because
is that like probably
legal guerrilla marketing.
And the beauty of what we can do is we can tap into these 40 artists and their
circles.
Their circles.
Yeah.
Whether through merch collabs, right? Because we'll have Gallery DeFi merch and then we'll have Gallery DeFi and the artist merch. And that's a way to kind of support them, but also tap into it.
Yeah.
But then we will bring each artist out for what we're calling a spotlight weekend.
Yeah.
And so, for example, Punk Me Tender, he's got a certain aesthetic, certain vibe. We'll do an after hours with Punk Me Tender where people are being painted. It's a different scene, but now we're able to.
We're going to put them on the wheel.
Right.
There's going to be a lot of discussions and I'm sure things on the table that we're going to have to strongly consider. Maybe some disclaimers.
Yeah.
But it's going to be a vibe. It's going to be an experience that may be different than when Arbity comes. She might be a trunk show, or when Tex and you come, there might be something around Yums or initiative that you have, or we have people that they have a documentary. We have people writing books.
Yeah.
All right. And it's like, when can you come that best supports that? Just like as when an actor or a comedian goes on the night shows because something's about to come out.
Right.
Same deal. We want to lend our space to best support what you're doing. And in that allows us to hyper target or focus into certain demographics. Because we have an Olympic skateboarder from Mexico, right? Skateboarding, that's a whole different lane.
Right.
Motorcycles, whole different lane. And that allows us to pull the lens back because we really have two different demographics. The art collector, which is really a small community, and it doesn't grow by the day.
Right.
And then the adult millennial that values experiences over things.
Yes.
And so if we can provide both, why not? And so that's kind of where we're at with it, and not pigeonholing ourselves into one way. Like, we have these conversations all the time, is we might fall into something else that becomes our wheelhouse through these people or these endeavors. And we're open to that, So I think that's what the beauty of it is. And the preservation and how much we've had to endure from the backside, the stuff that's not out in the public.
Right.
One of our partners had to go through a crazy litigation where it was almost out of a movie where he didn't really even do anything, but here he is in it. And once it started, and it's been vindicated, but time, you gotta endure. And it puts a lot of things on the back burner. It makes a lot more things challenging. I don't think he's illegally allowed to speak on it, but I am. But we'll keep names out of it. We'll keep it how we've been. But you get to this point and you're like, we've got this far. We've endured this much. We have this much support all these artists are down rocking with us. You know,
Mhm.
Risk Rock being in is like some of Travis's art icons are in our phones,
Mhm.
and there are business partners. We have working relationships with them and things of that nature. And it's wild. And you remind yourself of that when it gets hard or it seems long, or you get the question,
When are we open?
and to that note, it's like, if I knew, I would tell you, but I also don't want to tell you if I don't know I can deliver.
Right.
Right. We are close. We're applying for our CO. Then it's on the city of Dallas. We have you guys come in and we'll be open. So stay tuned
It'll
for
happen
that.
quick.
It'll happen quick. But
Yeah.
we're excited for just the contributions. Like, speak on what you're doing for us, and how I would love to hear from your end as an artist. Obviously, you say what we're doing is cool and badass, but like when Travis reached out about it, and then you started brainstorming it, what are you looking forward to about what we're doing from an artist perspective, not just?
Well, I'll tell you. So he's been on the podcast before, but Tex reached out to me about this. I think you reached out to Tex to begin with, and Tex was like, really, this is kind of like Brandon's avenue. Like I'm a painter, but he's more of like the structural, kind of a pull things together that direction. And, because I've done, stuff in 3-dimensional. I mean, I went to school for 3D animation and learned about modeling and everything like that. And then, just kind of took my art a couple of different directions as well, And so when Tex approached me, he was like, and he's the best dude in the world. Like, honestly, like,
Tex is great.
I'm lucky to have that dude as a friend. He is kind, he is genuine, and what you see is what you get with that guy, And so for him to include me and teach me, he's the one that actually threw a can in my hand to begin with. So anytime, I mean, I've been painting forever, and he was just literally shoved a can in my hand and said, "You're doing this." So thanks, Tex. But first off, for me to get the chance to do something with him is humbling, right? We do many things together all the time, but every time I'm just
did the bus for
Yeah.
Dallas Mavericks.
did the bus
nice.
for the Dallas Mavericks.
Wish that guy would have executed that damn dunk over Dirk.
I
I had to tell my friends.
Yeah.
I was telling my friends, you see that guy that missed the dunk? Well, Brandon
bus
and Tex
behind.
painted the paint of the bus, behind it. But that was awesome. That's a perfect example.
Yeah, so Tex and I just sat down and I said, "Hey, let me talk to you about kind of what we're trying to put out here." And he was like, "I want to push and push." And I said, "Good, because that's my lane. I love that." And so we started talking about what we want to say to people, what we want people to feel about us when they walk in the door. Because his and mine, he is very clean and lettering and just blows me away with some stuff. Looks like it was done on a printer. Like it's really good. And mine is portraits and organic and messy and and so it was really kind of cool, the juxtaposition of our two styles coming together. So I said, one thing that I want to make sure that we're doing is let people see what we're thinking, right? And so I created this I drew this up first off. I was like, what if we had this giant head in the middle, and I like chopped the top off his head, and I wanted to do this like infinity mirror with like LEDs going down, so we can get over the top of it as far as you can see. It's like, whoa, the depth of this human being's thoughts are like endless, right? And then I
didn't even know that.
And then I have this mobile of things that are swinging over like a tornado coming out of the top of it, right? And so Tex and I just started saying, like, what are the things that we want to do? And his idea was, I want on the outside of this booth to look like fear, like we're insecure on everything that we have. And then we started talking about, like, maybe we just start cutting the walls to get shorter towards the front. Instead of it being a square that everybody's expecting, ours kind of crashes into the floor, and like we have lettering that goes up and says things on everything. It starts to build out right from the outside. It can say fear and scared and things like that. But those same letter cuts on the inside say something positive, like breakthrough and power and love and things like that. But on the inside is this head, and it's in a corner. It has that mobile over the top of it. And it just shows the energy that's coming out of us. And we just want people to walk in and experience us. And that's that's kind of the way that we went about this. So I built I went out and built an 8-foot by 4-foot CNC machine, which was a nightmare, by the way. Like,
I've been out there and seen it.
Oh my gosh. Like, it took me 6 months. Like, I thought, I'm going to buy this online, And so I bought this thing and I started building it, and it's like, oh, there's just a few motors. There's a motor and a couple of gears in this thing. That's not a lot. Like, how are we going to get this? So I had to literally Google how to get it done, and then you get it put up and you built, and you got to go to Home Depot just to buy stuff, just to build it, right? It doesn't, you know. So then I had to go online and figure out how to code and how to do all this other stuff for it. I mean, it was a 6-month ordeal to get it done. And then I was burning through. I think the first deadline was like October.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Dude, I was eating sawdust every day, you know, building this thing. And so I've built this head, and it's probably, you know, this tall, you know, and it's got, you know, a gradation on the top from emotion of blue to red, just to show like the emotional change from happy to sad, right? And then it's got this graffiti that falls through the face, you know, to show like thoughts and feelings and emotions or whatever. But as it leans over, you get that in the tornado. And so we're going to set that inside whatever when we get to you guys. We just wanted people to have a place to experience. And when they go into it, they think, these people are like me. I feel what they're feeling, because everyone puts a face on. Everyone says like, hey, you got this, blah, blah, blah. But we all feel like overwhelmed or insecure, or we have fear for things, or just not being able to get it all done, or it just feels like it's too much, you know? And so we all have that. But we all have our happy place too. And that's what we really wanted to kind of put out, was you step into our booth and it's your happy place, and it's, you catch that moment, you know?
It's going to be awesome. I've seen
it was very great hearing you explain.
I didn't
that
know
too.
that explanation.
That's very cool, and so excited for all these artists to get in and to hear about all the amount of time and thought that artists have put into their installations and everything. Just thankful for you guys for putting in all that thought into it, and just looking forward to seeing this thing made and get it going.
Sorry about the false timeline, but I guess, you know,
it was always a real timeline.
It was. Look, we all lived through it, right?
Yeah.
And so, you know, we got it done. Right? And now you've had time to breathe and think on it, and probably maybe think about
I've actually made it better since that point too. You know, like the little things like, you know, hiding the cords and like the way the glass sits on the inside. And I over time, like I thought, man, I got to get this through. And then I was like, you know what? If I just flip that and routed that from the bottom, no one would ever see the seam or what, you know, it's just like you go through those.
We feel the same way though. You know, it took him a little longer to come around, I think, on this idea that like our timing is our timing. When we open, we're open, because we're not trying to be a fly by night, like you said, or here today, gone tomorrow, or a pop-up or hit a window. So when we open, we're ready. But in that time, all the positive and all the growth, whether it be from a participation standpoint or from a resources standpoint or from the area being developed better standpoint, and just being better suited, because there's a lot of commercial development happening around us. And I think we should talk about that, because it's exciting. The area that we picked for Gallery DeFi is between Trinity Groves and Bishop Arts, but it's right below the Belmont. It's around the corner from where Clyde from Bonnie and Clyde is buried. So there's a lot of just cool history there. But at the same time, it's next door to the 10 districts, where a lot of artists have studios. And there's a lot of art coming. There's a sculpture park coming in that area. And Harold Simmons Park, which was going to be in the Trinity River, they scratched that idea recently. And luckily for us, we're in the site plans. That's how close it is to us. And that's, I don't know if you're not familiar, that's the large $350 million civil park that Dallas is building, with skate parks and volleyball courts and covered basketball and terraces and
foot traffic
and
foot traffic and also opportunity to collaborate with the city, right? So skate park, we have an artist that's an Olympic skateboarder, so lend his art and also bring that validation of and have him skate the park, and things like that. But if we opened when we thought we were going to open naively, then this stuff would still be on the horizon and it wouldn't be even announced. Now everybody knows it's coming, so people are developing the areas around it. There's a historic purchase of like 200 buildings, and the first thing they just approved is a 45-story hotel on the west side of Dallas. It's going to stick out like a sore thumb until it doesn't, because the whole area is going to look like that. The plans kind of look like Legacy West, and if you're in the DFW area, you know how quickly things can be developed. So we've been blessed in that. Trey, his family sold their electrical supply company and founded a commercial real estate company. He did a lot of research, and he swore up and down about this location And when he got it, the history was there.
Yeah.
But the development wasn't. And we just had to trust him. And he was 100% right. And, you know, we went from seeing homeless people pushing shopping carts to nothing. And wider streets, new lights from the city, all these older buildings being converted in the meantime. And of course, yes, would we have liked to be able to execute on some things and deliver on what we say we're going to deliver? Yeah. But at the same time, everything happens for a reason, and our timing is our timing, and we're going to be ready to go, and that's the key part. And we couldn't do this without the support and the patience of the artist collective. But it allows us to get up and hit that grind every day when we hear from you guys, and you're excited about this or about that, and encouraging us, and you can't wait. And these positive affirmations that, you know, just because if we would have known some of the hurdles and struggles and sacrifices that went into this project up front, I don't know if we all would have signed up as eagerly. But once you're in it, you're in it. You just gotta. It's like if you Game of Thrones, the scene with Jon Snow, Battle of the Bastards. He's standing there in the middle of the field with his sword, and he thinks he's got his whole squad behind him, and there's no one but him. And it's the whole world's rushing at him, and at times you feel that way, but then eventually everybody comes and, you know, he wins the day. So that's how it feels. I don't know about for you. And we got to walk the line of he's an artist full time as well. So he's got to be the creative director. I run the operations over here, but we still got to pay the bills over here and produce over here. And we have clients, and you would think, oh, you can just do it all from the same place. And it doesn't work that way. So we're ready for it to be all from the same place. And we're probably about 2 months away.
So when you guys start talking about, you know, we were talking about the marketing behind it earlier, right? And using like the circles, which kind of plays into who you're selecting, right? You have people have reached out to me since they've seen that I'm on this, right? And I'm fringe on this, right? Like, I mean, you guys got some big artists in this bad boy, right? Like,
I wouldn't call you fringe.
Not at all.
That's just from your angle. For us, like, we're going to do this multiple times. And we have, there's local guys that will be involved in all of them, and I wouldn't call you fringe.
Well, I appreciate that. But what I was getting at was like, you guys got some big names on this list. How did you go about procuring those guys? How did you go about selecting the names that you chose to go after to procure?
It's a lot of more so on the smaller artists, like local and in Texas. Originality is huge, and then knowing that somebody can produce in this larger side, and then also giving people still opportunity and room to grow. This may be something that is big that they've never done before, but know that they can do it. Past work has shown that. But then as far as the bigger artists, it really comes back to that network and talking with other artists and speaking. Like some of the biggest one, like my favorite artist, one of the guys that got me into painting was Risk Rock, just from colors, style, everything. And Punk Me Tender and I have done, he was involved in this show that we were involved in at the Crescent. And then, so he became a good friend through that. And I was about to go out to LA, and him and I were kind of talking about the show, getting him on board and everything. And I was like, hey, Dave Navarro, he had started painting Life After Death, street art. And doing that, I was like, hey, was about to reach out to Dave Navarro. He's like, oh yeah, I was just with him. I'll shoot him a text. And then next thing I know, like 30 minutes later, now I'm on the phone with Dave.
Literally
talking to him about the exhibit, our plans, and our mutual friends. And then I was going to be in LA at the end of the month. So I had the opportunity to go to his house and meet him and talk to him as he was painting and everything, and see his wonderful art collection. And as we were talking, I brought up Risk, and like still talking about the project and things. And Risk just did a show with Risk at Chrissy's last month. And we'll text him right now. And I'm like, oh shit, all right. And then he starts texting Risk, and then he's like, yeah, he says, come over tomorrow, come talk and meet. And I'm like, all right. So then the next day I went out to his compound, and it's out in Thousand Oaks. It's about like 5 or 6 houses all on like one property. Each house is its own part of his process. You have, there's a printing room or a printing house. There's a framing house. there's a welding house, a spray paint house, and then there's a really nice house, and then a nice guest house. But this whole, it's really, he calls it the compound, and it's a beautiful sight to see. And he's got great friends working with him also, like all with the, so it was really cool to be able to see a fine-tuned operation operating and how they do it. And that was great. And went out there, got to meet with him, talk with him, and then he was on board. And it was kind of but it all started from working with Punk Me Tender in the past and having that relationship, and then reaching out. And then also like Lakash from LA as well. He was just here a little over a month ago, or a little less than a month ago, doing his installation. At the same time, he was putting together an art show in LA that was to raise money for his family. And he had a couple of artists in that were cool. And so then started, Lakash had introduced me to two of those artists. And now one's Boo Boo Stewart, who's an actor from Twilight, does these crazy, really cool, like white, black, figurative drawings, and nothing like we have either. And so it's adding getting a bunch of different artists. People aren't necessarily creating the same thing. Some things may be similar, but the way they go about it is all different. But this guy nobody is creating anything like that we have currently. And it was really just all introductions kind of from artist friends. And then we have had a few that have reached out to us on Instagram. Like, hey, are you like, oh yeah, sure, works great. And then we start talking further. And then also some from past clients that I'm doing commissions currently for. Like, hey, we have this artist friend, this guy, Cade out of Waco. And the dude's amazing. He's like, hey, you got to meet my friend, everything. Like, he was going through doing I think the Texas Sports Museum. Yeah,
he's doing the Texas Hall of Fame right now down in Waco. So it's like an octagon building. So it's got 8 walls, and he's doing all these faces from Texas sports. So
that's cool.
He's got the skill set, but he's in Waco, which is a smaller market. He's the guy in Waco. He's first call, but he wants to be up in Dallas, and he actually came in to do a concept that we had someone else do that kind of fell off the map, and
like, I'm moving to Oklahoma.
Yeah, need to go take care of some other things. But we're like, well, shit. We have this full concept, and it's like the faces of Dallas. You know, it's got a lot of people that are current, and Erykah Badu, Post Malone,
Paul Coffin.
Who?
Paul Coffin.
Who's that?
He got his room. From his album.
Anyway, we got the Belmont. We got 7-Eleven signed because they're right there. We got Clyde from Bonnie and Clyde, and things like that. And Cade just came in and executed it and made it his own. And that was a client. He hit me up on Instagram. He's like, hey, I have this friend. And a lot of times, you know how it goes. I got a friend that's got a mixtape. He's like, oh, can't wait to hear it. And he was super talented, super cool kid. And he's coming up a few times to work on his mural executing and just doing it. And it's awesome. That's another, I think that is a requirement, is just like, what is your work process? Are you reliable? Because what we're trying to do is not just for tomorrow, right? So we want people that are going to bring it and continue to bring it. And I think that it's not just a matter of, obviously, I'm going to text Dave Navarro and, hey, I'm going to text Risk Rock, because those could have gone, they could have just said no.
Yeah.
So I think that they believe in what we're doing because we are authentic and we are coming from a place of artist first and not money first. And, I think that rings true. I couldn't tell you how many people have told us no. Even the people that have been more timing.
Yeah.
And it's just not the right timing. It will line up down the road. And that works for us because we want to be able to reintroduce different people along the way or recurate with a little bit different twist. So that's just natural. But it's kind of humbling to look at our list and to start counting the accomplishments of these folks. And Boo Boo Stewart, his name's Boo Boo, but that's his name. He's an actor. He comes with 2.5 million followers on Instagram. So it's like, there's a lot of power in that, in growing the brand for everybody. It's going to lift the exposure is going to work for everybody.
Right.
And we're not in a place where it's like, we're going to be hyper focused on this person. We're going to have, the spotlight weekend. So I think it's cool. You'll come in on a Thursday. And just like when you go to the movies, there's going to be a poster there.
Mhm.
And in 3 weeks, you're going to see Brandon Adams and Tex, and Yums might be dropping a pair of shoes that you can't get. And now we're tapping into to speak on the marketing, the Yums crowd. But I think that we're open to people that are willing to take chances and try big things, that are talented, that want to show up and work. I don't think that we look at somebody and say, is this your first show or not? I think we have a healthy mix of people that have never been seen before, and then people that people want to come see because they're established. We have a healthy mix of local, and we have a healthy mix of international and other places throughout the country. So if you're out there, if you see this and you're creative and you catch wind of what we're doing, shoot us an Instagram, hit Brandon up if you know him, and if you have people that hit you up and you think that they're
100%,
we're open. And it may not be this show. It may be the next one. It may be something specific. Or if you're a graphic designer or, you do this or that, there's going to be opportunities that come up, or if you want to just sell art, you want to get into art and you want to, be in the space, there's going to be opportunities for that as well. And I think
to be hiring.
Yeah. And about to be hiring 10% of some of these pieces is a nice
a chunk.
Yeah. Someone come sell the Risk Route gun, please.
275.
Yeah.
That'll do.
Yeah. It's Texas though. If anyone's going to sell the gun, I told him it was in Florida. I was like, we need it in Texas. And so Nicole, his manager and lady, she called us and was like, hey, do you want this piece? And I called Travis like, hey, Risk's best piece from Basel is about to show up at our door. How crazy is that? And it's cool to have that working relationship and for them to trust us. They don't need 100%. They don't need us.
Yeah.
Dallas is a nice market for artists to have access to because of its growth. It's a transient city. There's a lot of Fortune 500 companies.
Yeah.
There's a lot of appealing things for artists, but someone like him, he's the only person that's ever painted in Michelangelo's studio. Who are we?
That's crazy.
And it's great to see he came out and did a 210-foot mural on the front of the gallery. And you go around Dallas and there's a few taggers and people that you just see tagging everything. Their name is everywhere. And then you would think people just want to tag we're here, but thankfully the porta potty just got removed because now our toilets are working inside.
Yeah.
But there was a porta potty out in front of the gallery and it was his Risk mural. Nobody's tagging the mural. People are just tagging the porta potty.
Buildings around us, the fence around us.
Nobody was touching the mural.
1,000% respect. And that story, I think, remember the guy that came when he was here? So
yeah, the founder of MSK.
No, not that guy. The guy that lived he lived across the street. The first day Risk was out there, he made his first pass. And if you know his art, he has a distinguishable style. He hadn't put up any of his imagery, the butterflies or anything like that.
Yeah.
But the next day he has a crew that works with him. And they show up first, kind of get set up. And this guy had come out and saw the crew there, saw the work on the building, didn't see Risk. And was hollering at us like, why would you have someone come and
you guys are ripping Risk off?
Why are you ripping Risk off? And I was like, hey man, if you give it about an hour, he's going to be here shortly. About an hour and a half goes by and the guy comes back and he's got stuff for Risk to sign. And it's
like USPS things. The slaps.
We signed these and Risk did. But it was cool because it was like, there was only like 10 units that could see our building at the time. And to have that visceral of reaction.
Yeah.
And recognized, right? Yeah. And so, thank you, Risk. We're humble. We're thankful because it's like you get someone like that, and it makes the conversation, with someone that's on the come up, maybe underneath a Risk in their career, a little easier to have,
right?
Because it's like this guy's on board, and as talented as he is, as revered as he is, he's as cool as they come. Great to work with. Showed up, knocked it out. He did a mural on the inside for us, has made a lot of his art accessible for us. So we're thankful for that, for sure.
Definitely.
Got a lot of cool stuff of his to see. And his stuff needs to be seen too in Dallas. He's got LA and Miami kind of on lock and we're kind of in the middle.
Yeah.
So I'm excited to kind of introduce him to a lot of people here.
That's awesome. Well, tell me about these, what you brought today. Your icon, your logos.
Right, yeah. Well, so this is for you. I wanted to bring you a hat. This is...
So the sculpture on the ground is just the double heart logo that you're going to see in a lot of Travis's work. That's kind of his brand identifier, which I think is important, right? With collaborations, how do you land your brand as an artist to a Nike? You got to have things that are recognizable, that are easily lended.
Right.
So the hearts are the starting point, and then he has a double flamingo.
And then not dot.
Not dot
and
as
then
well.
not dot as well. But the heart started out was my uncle passed away, and growing up had a lot of his books in my closet growing up, and he would sign his name on all the books, THAAS, T Hayes. And my name's Travis Hayes McCann. So I kind of adopted his signature when I first started off painting. And then my father came to one of my shows and it said Travis Hayes. And he's like, what happened to the McCann? I'm like, ooh. All right, so switch it up. And then that's how I came up with the not dot Travis. It's me. It's that person that I always wanted to be.
Yeah.
And it's me, but it's not me. And then kind of went with that. But then I was trying to make my uncle's signature my own, and ended up turning the two A's upside down and was connecting the H to the S. It was kind of how he signed it. And so then I just dropped the H and the S, and it was the two hearts connected. And now it symbolizes two different sized hearts, but everybody's connected. We're all in it together, and we're all different. And so now that's been able to expand now to jewelry, to clothing, and then just came out with this. This was a partnership with Cold Water Co. out of Austin. Nice water bottle. And all proceeds, most of the proceeds go to drilling for new water here in places that are in need. But this just came out and was a design. It all encompasses the hearts and everything.
Got a little of your style in it too from the background.
Yeah, and so in the background is actually a picture of a mural that I did in Grand Prairie. Took a picture of it and then distorted it.
Mm-hmm.
And then so that ended up being the background. And then you've got the signature hearts on the front.
Now, I'll tell you what, you guys have come a long way. I'm super proud of what you guys are doing.
Thank you.
Thankful for the involvement.
Thank you, my man.
Absolutely.
Yeah, really, really appreciate that.
Likewise.
For people who are grinding out there every day trying to get seen and heard, we're thankful for opportunities. So especially platforms like yourselves, you guys are doing it.
Of course. And likewise, thank you for having us on out here. This is our second podcast to do together.
Yeah.
And looking forward to many more and keep telling the story and everything. And beyond excited to finally see these artists inside this building creating and telling their story like you were describing your installation earlier. Definitely thankful for that and your time, even putting in, rushing to get it ready, everything.
Sure.
And we're beyond excited.
Yeah, it's going to be fun. And
it is time.
we want a place where it's like you're inspired by something in 3 months. And it's like, okay, we did this. Can we move on and do something else? I got this idea.
Mm-hmm.
And we're going to be upset. We're going to do whatever we can to make it happen, right? Because the enthusiasm and the energy, if it's from the artist, it always translates. Opposed to, hey, can you do this for us?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
We have fabricators that can make the things that are color by number.
Yeah.
We always love when artists are enthusiastic and they have an idea that they've been wanting to do forever. They just never had the place to do it.
Yeah.
It's like we're in a place and we're in a place to do it and provide. It's like give back and do more, not because it benefits you, because you're in a position to do so. And I think that always is the best way to operate. So thankful for sure to be able to do this. And it's funny, we explained to our family what we do. They don't get it. They have no idea.
They will.
My parents get it now. They understand.
Well, like shooting a podcast on a Friday at 2, like for what? It's like, hang tight. Just hang tight. Bear with us. Just like the last thing, just bear with us.
Well, I tell you what, you guys have done an amazing job on this podcast. You guys were a great conversation to have. So appreciate it. Wish you all the best.
Thank you, my man.
Next time.
Likewise.
Thanks.
Thank you,
See you
everybody.
in a couple weeks doing that installation.
Yes, sir. Absolutely. Deuces.
Thank you, guys.